Leave no listener behind.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And tonight we have a guest with us. Came in just in time. Super excited to find out who he is and what he's about. So let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Eddie, right?
Eddie Tejeda, yes.
Tejeda.
Tejeda. It's a hard one.
I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
Here's an easier version for you.
We'll definitely work on it.
Tejeda.
Tejeda. Yeah.
Awesome. So welcome, Eddie. This is your first time on the radio. I'm sure you'll do great. We're just going to give yourself a little introduction. Tell us and the listeners who you are and what do you do.
For sure, yeah. My name is Eddie Tejeda, and I am the mayor of Redlands.
Okay.
I'm surprised y'all were not aware of that. But that's okay. You know, I have a good friend of mine who, I'm going to take my glasses off so that it's a good friend of mine that says, you know, you're Redlands' best kept secret because, you know, you're there and you're just there to serve the public. You're not there to elevate your profile or anything like that. So hats off to you, and I say thank you very much to that because it's very much true. You know, I'm not there to, you know, elevate myself personally. It's definitely about being a public servant.
It's about elevating Redlands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about making our community better. So.
Yeah. And I apologize because I actually live in Yucaipa. So I know the Yucaipa mayor. Not too.
And then I live in Mentone, which is, I don't know what's going on.
Our sister community, right?
Yeah, sister community,
yes.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get started, Kyle's going to give us our little sponsor.
Our sponsor today is going to be snjradio.com. No negative news, no politics, just feel good music.
Yes, and then we're going to be taking a break at 7:30, and when we come back, we're going to be giving away a free Wingstop gift card that you can use at any location of a Wingstop. You just got to call in and be the first caller, and that number is
888-909-1050. That is 888-909-1050.
All right, so let's get straight to it. So Eddie, you know, I actually interviewed some people from the Yucaipa City Council and all that stuff, but I never got to speak to anyone in the Redlands area. So I'm very excited to speak to you. What are some of the things that you wanted to address coming on the show?
I guess just introducing myself, and since I didn't know that you didn't have anybody from Redlands on the show before, so you know, I feel fortunate and blessed to be here and just to tell you like what's going on in Redlands and you know about myself or whatever you want to talk about.
So how long have you been the mayor?
So started we have the opportunity to select the mayor among council members after every election. So 2022 was the last election. Okay. November 2022. So December, that first meeting. As soon as the election gets certified by the clerk, what is the county?
Okay.
Right, the county registrar of voters. When they certify the election, they sent us a letter, you know, a digital letter, and says everything's certified. That means the winners are winners. Right, and even though they had the most votes earlier on, it's the official declaration that the person won. And so at that point, we have a council meeting, and one of the items on the agenda is who are we going to choose for mayor, or do we elect to keep the same person? Right. Okay. So at that point in 2022, I became the mayor.
Nice. Well, congratulations. Yeah,
congrats.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, sure.
Is this one of your biggest accomplishments in life?
I would say, yeah, having been elected at large. So right now we're in a district format, right? You know, so there's 5 districts in the city of Redlands, and every council member comes from a district and represents a certain a number of, percentage of the equal percentage of population, so to speak. We try to get, to within, that margin that's really close. Anyways, but when I won in 2016, it was an at-large race, so citywide, and I only raised a little over $2,000.
Oh,
And I
wow.
won. Yeah, I won citywide.
What made you win?
I think, Redlands is a community that is intimate, and I say that because people, Redlands likes to know who's gonna serve them.
Right.
Redlanders like to know who's gonna serve them, and
Right.
so I believe I had the requisite volunteer experience. They just want to see you out there giving back to the community. I was a park ranger for a while.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And that's and then I would attend, other events, other volunteering events here and there, and as long as they see you out there, that you're giving back, that you're not, trying to do this
Right.
superficially, right? You just want it for yourself, and you just want to elevate your profile.
I mean, who really wants a stranger to control their city? You know. What I
Right,
mean?
exactly.
So it definitely makes sense. You're talking about you're doing some volunteer work. What were some of the volunteer work you've done in the past?
Well, so Redlands has a community day of service, right? And so a lot of the religious organizations are involved with that. A lot of the service groups, the Optimists, the Rotary,
Yeah.
you name it, they're involved with that. And so they bring everybody together, and they just create these projects where anybody in the community can come out there and help out if they feel like it. And so those are the types of things I'm talking about.
It's funny that you bring that up because last week we're talking about what charity work that we've done in our past
Yeah.
and what I was going to be doing. And actually, what was it, Thursday when I went out to Riverside? Thursday? I got to learn how to make authentic Indian food and feed the people in need.
Oh,
so
nice.
I got to feed over 100 people in Riverside, and I'd never done anything like that before. And it was a really good feeling. One, because you're feeding people.
Right.
Two, because the things that you make, they're enjoying.
Right.
And you're just doing it for the goodness of your heart.
Right. Exactly.
Like you weren't getting paid for it. And the lady, she's from India. And long story short, I was like, hey, I want you to teach me how to make Indian food. She's like, well, I make food for the homeless if you want to come by. And I need people because
That's a twofer.
yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. So I was like, okay, this is great. And, I had an amazing time. That was one of my first times ever doing that. And that's something that I would like to do every once in a while.
Yeah.
But definitely there's some other charitable things I would like to do as well.
For sure.
So that's cool that Redlands has.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. We're very, and one thing, I moved here in 1995, and I say to people, when I was growing up, my family and I were from SoCal, and we're from South Central Los Angeles, and we lived in a bunch of different places. Never one long enough to call home until we moved to Redlands. And so a lot of people have that story where they move to Redlands and they call it home because it feels, it's a small community, but it has sort of like a big city sort of heartbeat.
It does.
It really does.
There's places
Yes, it
to go
does.
downtown, there's just things to do, and you name it, it's got it all. And so that's one thing that I learned, even while being on city council, it opened my eyes a lot more to the things that are happening in Redlands.
Are you born and raised in Redlands?
No,
Or-
no.
Oh, no.
Okay.
South Central, you were born and raised there?
Well, L.A.
LA.
In the LA area.
How long have you been in Redlands for?
Since 95.
Since 95.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've seen Redlands change, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what made you want to become mayor?
Well, everybody gets a shot, everybody gets a shot. And eventually, you feel like you have something that you've been on the council long enough that you have the experience to, and basically what the mayor does is just manage the meeting. That's really all the mayor does, right? We also get called on to go to special events, to speak at special events, like the grand opening we had here just a few, yesterday, matter of fact.
At the
I got to
Habitat
come
of
to the-
Humanity.
yeah, we had
Yep.
to come to the ribbon cutting ceremony and represent the city that way and welcome businesses. So that's part of what the mayor's job is, because each council member has equal authority, right? The mayor just has that. The mayor is the only council member that has an office everybody else has a shared office. So there's 5 chairs, 5 desks, and everybody can claim a chair or a desk and, work from there, meet with constituents and do things like that. But, as far as why or what made me want to be the mayor is just I felt like I had been on the council long enough. We've had older meaning more experienced council members that did a really good job of managing and representing and being the face. At that point, we had already lost a lot of the experience, and so it was just up to me and another council member who had been there. We were like sort of the last of the, and I was the newer of the, right? When I came on, we had people who had been on the council for decades. And so it's institutional knowledge. You don't think that when you're running, you think, these guys have been there long enough, and it's time for change. And part of the way it may be true, but once you get in, you realize, oh my God, it's really important to have someone there who knows everything that's going on. Yeah. Right. So and having somebody come in and learn everything from scratch. Yeah, exactly. It's just, oh man, we got to start all over again. Sort of that kind of feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely the thought of starting all over, not only electing someone, but their background and what they know about Redlands is very important.
Right, and don't get me wrong, anybody can do the job. Anybody can do it, right? Anybody who has the passion for their community can do that. The problem is that just because anybody can do it doesn't mean anybody can or should do it.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
You want to make sure that the right person is there and that person's been involved. So, now that I've been there long enough, I feel like, okay, now I understand why people were on the council for so long. So many projects are being worked on, and you want to make sure you see them through to make sure that there's no changes. Because you get a new crop of people. Imagine if you had 3 or 4 new council members, hey, we want to go in this direction. It's like, well, what about everything we were doing? We were trying to finish a project here,
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of projects, what are some projects that the city's working on now?
Well, the biggest project we're working on is moving into our new city hall facilities. We're transitioning slowly but surely. We bought the tallest building in town.
Okay.
Yeah, and that building, and it's a smart purchase because it's going to be our new home as far as government. It's from here into the future. I won't be here by the time that thing's finished being used. But it's a good purchase, and it's a good transition for us because our old facilities they're so old. It's going to require the same amount of money just to bring them up to standard. Right. Just to bring them up to the modern standard that that building already has. And not only that, it's going to it's going to leave us with enough space to lease out office space, and that makes it sort of like a self-sustaining kind of thing. Also, all the lease money that comes in, we get to use it to maintain the property, and there's no taxes that need to be raised just to make sure that happens.
So it's going to be the new city hall?
The new city hall, yeah.
Okay.
The city manager's office, the mayor's office is already there.
Oh, nice.
So it's on the 6th floor. So we have a really good view. So.
And so what's going on with the? There's like a museum being built. I think it's off Olive.
No, it's off of Brookside.
Brookside.
Yes, Brookside and.
So
Center.
what's going on with that?
That is an independent project that was brought about through just people in our community who wanted to see a community museum. And so that's just about finished. It's almost done. And that was all private funding. I think the city only gave $1 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
really?
Just $1 million. And so it was just all private funds coming in. They raise money. They sell. They have the Morapalooza that just occurred. And what they do is they just sell stuff. People donate to the organization. And they sell stuff. And that project could have been done a while back, but they, along the way, they just wanted to make it better and better and better. So it just kept evolving. Yeah. But that's going to house a lot of our community's history. Right, it's not going to be a typical museum where I'm sure there's going to be some artwork there, but it's more about the history of Redlands, and I think it's so appropriate for us to have that.
And there is a lot of history.
There's a lot
Redlands.
of history, yeah.
So that's super exciting. I had no idea that you guys are having a museum built out there. So.
I saw it like being built like around 2019, 2020. Then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then
that slowed everything down.
Yeah, that slowed everything down. And so I actually drive past it a lot, and I haven't seen much done with it. So that's why I wanted to ask too.
Yeah, no, it's almost done. If you've driven by recently, the parking lot's in.
I saw
the
that.
building on, you know.
yeah,
So it's
I did see
almost there. It did go through a little bit of vandalism.
Oh, it
no,
did.
yeah.
Some people threw some paint on the walls and stuff. They had to start over again. But yeah.
That's
you
just
know.
like the cosmetics of
Yeah.
the building.
Yeah, but
Okay,
it's
yeah.
almost there.
Okay,
good.
that's
It's
super
almost there.
exciting.
Definitely, I would say before the end of the year
Oh, okay.
or beginning of next year. They're probably just targeting a date on when they want to open it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, as mayor, do you see the schedule for all the progress and projects that are getting built? And
All the council does. We have the staff reports to us, and so every council meeting it could be an update on a certain project, right?
Right.
And they just tell us, okay, here's the timeline. So recently they told us about how long it's going to take. Well, we had a presentation about that covered what is the transition, the complete transition to the new city hall look like, and how long is that going to take? Well, so originally we just thought we were just going to move in and everything was going to be fine, and we didn't need to change anything. But
Right.
obviously, we need to make it look like a city hall
right
from the outside, not just the inside, because the inside's I guess less costly, but the outside needs to look like the people's government building.
Okay.
And so there's a cost to that, and we just got updated on what the cost might. I think it was $11 million to make it all.
Really?
Yeah.
And you know what the cool part is that it's the tallest building in Redlands, and that really puts a statement down.
It
The
does,
tallest
yeah.
building is City Hall,
Right.
and I think that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because City Hall is probably the most important, maybe the most valuable building structure in every city.
Absolutely.
So having to be the tallest, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And
Right.
over the coming months, not even the coming month, over the coming years, I'd say in the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see a big change to downtown Redlands because we're going to have the mall redeveloped.
I heard about
into-
that too.
It's a mixed-use development. If you go to the mall website, you can write in the search area, State Street Village, and it's a 3-story mixed-use development. So part of it's going to be residential, part of it's going to be commercial and office, and so it's just like an extension to the existing State Street. And it's
Okay,
like
yeah.
the State Street's actually going to go into that property. They're going to make it sort of reflect what already exists, and then it's going to go up to if you go, let's say, I think on Redlands Boulevard, there's 3rd Street, and you can go into the mall property on
Yeah,
3rd Street.
uh-huh.
Well, that street's going to go through to the other side
Oh,
on
okay.
Citrus. So it's going to
Yeah.
have a T section, and right at the end of the T or where it meets, where State Street ends, there's going to be an outdoor plaza. And so that's going to be, they want that to be the place to be. State Street's the place to be, but that's where the people are going to go in the future, right? To hang out and just have concerts and things like that, outdoor concerts and just whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they've
that'd be
we've
fun.
already, made sure that we're able to, as a city, tag along with whatever the program, because it is a private development, believe it or not. It's a private developer that's going to do that.
Are most of these projects private developers?
Most of them, yeah. Most of them. And that's a good thing because it's, if the public were to be involved, it's, how much more money do we have to put away? Do we have to borrow money to do that? And so if it's private,
Yeah.
then there's no need to worry about raising taxes to pay for stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I was talking to a Redlands PD, and he was talking about how he doesn't like his kids going to like Mountain Grove for certain situations, and like he was saying, there's all these cities surrounding Redlands. You got San Bernardino, you got Moreno Valley, and all this stuff. And he was talking about how like late at night, these parents that live out there, they just drop off their kids out here and have them just hang out and do what they want.
Yeah.
I guess the reason why I bring that up is because I think the number one thing for a city to have is safety.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're building this plaza, and you want this to be the new spot where everyone migrates and have
Yeah.
this big old thing. What are some safety things that you guys are going to?
So what some people don't know is that Mountain Grove, and so the property to the east of the 210 freeway, which is where Mountain Grove is, and where a lot of the warehouses are being developed, that's all county property. And we call it the donut hole because Redlands surrounds that area,
Right.
right? So north of, I think that the street is Palmetto. North of Palmetto, or just a little further, is the city boundary. And then when you come down this way, Ligonia is the furthest south that donut hole goes. So everything north of Ligonia is county property, and everything south of Ligonia is actually Redlands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and all the way up to California Street, So you could imagine. And that exists that way because the people who used to own the orange groves didn't want to join the city of Redlands, and they wanted to stay in the county.
I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and so we tried some time ago, like a long time ago, and that was a thing to incorporate that area as well, so that we wouldn't have this donut hole in our community. But we failed. Oh, I'm not gonna say we failed. It just wasn't successful. The owners got what they wanted. They wanted to stay with the county, pay lower taxes with the county, and not have to deal with the city. So,
Right.
but in those negotiations, we were able to capture 90% of the sales tax because Redlands PD has to provide, Redlands Fire has to provide services, and so yeah, and I think we're pretty close to. I believe next year we get 100% of the sales tax.
No
that goes
kidding.
there. Yeah, yeah, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to absorb that area because we should be able to control the stuff that gets built in our community.
Yeah, I mean, to the public eye, they think it's part of Redlands.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, until just now, I didn't know that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
The same issue with Mentone too. Like a lot of the constituents in Mentone that I live with are proud people. They stress about it being separate. Some people want Redlands to absorb it. And there was I think it was 2016. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where they tried to
Annex it, right?
annex it, and
No. Yeah, Redlands. What Redlands has was way back when, and I don't know the year, but one of our former mayors who was very active, he wrote Measure U, and Measure U basically said, here's the development guidelines, and by the way, any development outside of the city proper has to make sure that they sign an annexation agreement, meaning so new houses that get built in Mentone, the newer houses that are there, they're probably part of Redlands proper because they have to sign that agreement that says if we're going to provide utility services to you, then you have to agree to be part of the city.
Gotcha.
Right? So that was his way of saying, okay, this is how we have the ability to sort of absorb part of Mentone. But, in all honesty, there's no member of the city council that's interested in absorbing Mentone because there are people who have been there for a very long time who like their rural lifestyle.
That's true.
And
yeah.
so, we want to make sure we respect that. Because if they get absorbed, then, the zoning comes into play. Like, what are you zoned for? And they're worried about that.
Yeah. And then who gets what district and then that. And then it all becomes a big mess.
Yeah.
I mean, once you think eventually in the near future, Mentone will probably become part of Redlands, or because there has to be some type of development. I know everyone wants that rural area. That's why they moved out there. That's why they've been living there for years.
Yeah.
But with just the way life is and how society is, and there's so many like people moving further east from the west because it's so crowded.
I think perhaps in the future that might be something that people who move there would like, but there's pros and cons to that, right? And so this is something that you learn once you're in government, right? So let's just hypothetically say the people of Mentone achieve what they really want, and that is their own city. Well, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to pay for police, how they're going to pay for fire, and so where are they going to have their shopping centers, how are they going to create their tax base, because they're going to have to come up with that, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have, where are they going to get their water from, right? Right now they get it from Redlands, right?
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to figure out like what kind of agreement are they going to have with the city to be able to do, provide those types of services. Their trash service. I mean, all that has to get paid for, right? And then let's go to the other hypothetical. Let's say Redlands, we put out, or somebody creates this this voter initiative where people in Mentone have to decide if they want to be part of Redlands or not. Well, now Redlands has to cover the cost of updating Mentone, right?
Yeah.
We have to put in sidewalks. We have to put in curb and gutter. We have to put, you know what I'm saying? So it's not, those folks, when I tell them we have no interest in absorbing Mentone at this point because we know what It's a cost.
And like I've been to those meetings too at the Moose Lodge, and and it gets nasty.
Yeah.
Does
You
it?
know, it does. People want to be a part of Redlands. People say Mentone should be a part of Yucaipa. People say it should be their own city, but no one wants to do it. And so that's the thing too, is like it's easier to keep things as they are for the moment because there's some sort of tranquility about it. As soon as you start taking property, now this house wants to be a part of Yucaipa. These two neighbors don't like that, and then it starts to get in this thing, and you know, not to get too political on it. Some people sway one way, some people sway another. Yeah, and they're very proud of that. Yeah, and so it's it's about that too. It gets entertaining going to those meetings.
Yeah,
there's a lot of uproar, and people are just very proud. They just want
very proud and very passionate.
It is.
Yeah, and I just think they're not aware. They're not aware of what it's going to take to be a city. They're not aware of the cost.
What are they now? Like what is Mentone?
It's just a town.
Yeah, it's just a town.
Just a town.
It's just a town, and it's governed by the county.
Yeah,
the county is responsible for the roads and stuff like that. So
the only issue I have with it right now is like police. If something happens, depending on where you're at, we might get Redlands PD, or we might get Yucaipa PD, or we might get county. And so it takes a long time. Then now, I don't know what happens in the back end, but it does take a little bit longer for units to go out.
Yeah.
Right. Because they have to decide which unit's going, right?
Yeah.
I think they'd prefer to handle it the old West kind of way, right?
Yeah,
I'll just get my gun out and take care of the business myself, right?
Yeah, and like I was saying before, politically, a lot of people do swing a certain way and have their guns and feel like I am the police.
Yeah.
Right. So, Eddie, I want to ask you, in your honest opinion, what do you think about Redlands itself?
I think it's a beautiful community. Ever since I've been here, even though it's evolved, it's a beautiful community that welcomes just anybody who's interested in wanting to see the community become a welcoming place for everyone, right? And what I mean by that is, doesn't matter who you are or what your religious affiliation is, what your political affiliation is. When you move to Redlands, you have a neighbor to the left of you, to the right, in front of you, behind you, whatever, and that's what you are. You're somebody's neighbor, right? And that's the most important part. That's the most important thing that people like about Redlands, is that they come in and that's what makes it a small town feel, right?
It does.
Where do your kids go to school? You talk about stuff like that, and you leave. It's like an apolitical sort of town, right? Although there are some people who are very politically active and want to see certain things occurring in the community. It's like, we have the pushback. We have a little bit of pushback going on, and it's like, okay, how do you manage that?
Yeah. I'm glad that you said the word neighbors, because when we do come back on break, I want to talk about not just the commercial projects that are getting built, but the residential projects as well. But when we come back, guys, we are going to be first caller to call in will win this free Wingstop gift card. You can go to any Wingstop in your area, and it's all yours for the first person to call in. And Kyle, what is that number?
That's 888-909-1050. That is 888-909-1050.
Yeah, and we're going to be going. We'll be right back in about 5 minutes. You guys are listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
From the Bureau of Economic Geology, this is Earth Date. Graphite, the shiny gray stuff in your pencil, has unexpected powers. When you write with it, you're scraping off a very thin layer. For decades, scientists tried to slice a layer just one atom thick, which they called graphene. But it was only 13 years ago at the University of Manchester that they succeeded. Graphene turned out to be far more miraculous than they could have ever imagined. It's the thinnest compound known to man, thousands of times thinner than the human hair. It's also the lightest, 1,000 times less dense than paper. Graphene is harder than diamonds and 200 times stronger than the strongest steel. Its ability to conduct heat is 1,000 times greater than copper. It's also the best-known conductor of electricity at room temperature. It's impermeable to gases. Not even helium can pass through it, while being transparent, highly flexible, even stretchable. And get this, if it does get torn, it can repair itself. Not surprisingly, this incredible material will transform our lives in the future. It will lead to lighter, faster, more efficient, and much smaller electronics, lighter, stronger aircraft, new industrial products like impermeable paint, consumer products like better tennis rackets, and because graphene is carbon-based, just as we are, the biotech possibilities are too many to mention. Meanwhile, I'm placing bets on a new comic book hero, Graphene Man. You heard it here first on Earth Day. I'm Scott Tinker.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic Geology at the University of Texas at Austin. Earth Date is researched by Julie Hennings, written by Harry Lynch, and distributed by Mark Blunt and Casey Walker. For more stories, follow us on Facebook or visit earthdate.org.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
No, it's Super Roth!
Okay, a gimmicky opening for a commercial about Super Roth Universal Life Insurance, but I'm sure it got your attention. Now, what is a Super Roth, you ask? It's a permanent indexed universal life insurance that's totally liquid and easily accessible once it matures. Can be used to supplement retirement savings or a death benefit, or both. Has no income or contribution limit. Has no 5-year rule like Roth IRAs. Has no 10% penalty for accessing the funds before age 59 and a half. Oh, and the average historical returns are 5 to 7% annually, tax-free. Super Roths also lock in gains, which means you don't lose your money when the market is down. Sounds incredible, right? Sounds super? Super Roths are the way of the future, specifically your future. To see if you qualify for a Super Roth, go online to thesuperroth.com.
Bob Vila here with my home improvement tip of the day. If your bathroom is looking a bit dated, but there's no room in your budget for a complete remodel, why not think in terms of small upgrades that'll spruce things up? One such project is replacing old discolored caulk around the bathtub with new fresh-looking silicone caulk. Start by applying some caulk softener to the old caulk and let it sit for a couple of hours. Once the old caulk's softened, use a stiff putty knife to remove it. Then, after getting rid of any remaining soap scum or debris, apply rubbing alcohol to kill any mildew that may have been lurking behind the old caulk. Once the area is dry, fill the tub with water to ensure it's fully settled, then apply a good quality silicone caulk. Make sure it's one that's especially made for bathrooms and contains a mildewcide. That'll help keep your tub looking clean and inviting. Get more info at bobvila.com and right here at home with me, Bob Vila.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
Eddie Tejeda.
Eddie Tejeda. He is the mayor of Redlands, everybody. So
Mayor of Redlands.
definitely super excited to have him on. It was a surprise, but nothing like this is better because I love having shows where it's very genuine.
Yep.
You know, when I first started doing this podcast, Kyle and I, we had like all these, you know, bullet points and topics and all this stuff, and we realized it was very scripted. And once you finish all these questions, you still got more time on the air. It's like now it's kind of now we have to think outside the box.
Yeah.
You know, so for you to come in and I'm like, oh, like I didn't really know who you were. Now we get to know the listeners.
An authentic interview.
Yes, it's very genuine. It's not scripted, so I'm super excited. Before we get back into our topic, we are going to be doing a giveaway for a Wingstop gift card. You guys just call in, and the first caller gets this. You guys go to any Wingstop in your area, and that number is
888-909-1050. That is 888-909-1050.
Yes, and before we went on break, we're talking about that feeling of Redlands, of like the neighbors and, you know, the neighbors behind you, in front of you. We're also talking about the new projects that are coming up, commercial projects. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about the people in like the residential areas and what's getting built and what's getting done with, you know, the neighbors, so to speak.
Right. So that's a sensitive topic too for people of Redlands. I don't know if you remember, I think it was even in 2022 where 2022, where there was this Measure F about how high things can go and things like that, and what the densities were, and that was our former mayor, rest in peace, you know, Bill Cunningham, really good person, and he just wanted to make sure that the city didn't overdevelop and become this really populated town, you know, so that we kept our character, and so we need to respect that, you know. And but zoning is what zoning is. You know, that's how things get built. You know, there are areas in our city that are zoned for housing, and sometimes because of the housing needs, we were talking about the regional housing needs. You know, if developers do certain things, they get to have density bonuses, meaning more houses. And so we do have new developments coming in, programmed for the vacant areas by Tennessee Street and Ligonia and San Bernardino Avenue, right?
So across the street from the Home Depot.
And I don't know if you've seen the new development that's coming in north of Citrus Valley High School. Yeah,
that needs to get developed.
Yeah.
There's some open land there that we can definitely use some stuff for.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And so that was, you know, the old citrus farmers that said, you know what, there's no money in citrus anymore, or it's not as lucrative as they want it to be. So they just let their fields die and
I remember that.
You know, plow them over and wait for somebody to want to buy it. And so they're coming. We already have that project coming in. We just looked at another project that is just to the...
Hi, you guys are listening to Whatever Works on KCAA. Is this the caller?
Yes, hi.
Hey, how you doing? Are you here for the Wingstop free gift card?
Yes.
Awesome. What's your name?
Marco.
Marco, where are you from?
Ukaipa.
Hey, check that out. Awesome.
Marco,
we got
Ukaipa.
some free Ukaipa. Hey, Marco, quick question. If you were listening and paying attention, who's our guest tonight?
It is the Redlands mayor. I do not remember his name.
Go ahead. What's your name?
Eddie Tejeda.
Don't forget it, Eddie Tejeda.
Eddie Tejeda. Okay,
Yes.
I'll remember that.
Awesome. Well, hey, congratulations, Marco from
Yeah,
Ukaipa.
congrats,
You got
Marco.
yourself a free Wingstop gift card.
Thank you.
All right. Just hang on tight. We're going to put you on hold, and then Joe's going to get your contact information, okay?
Amazing. Thank you, Works. Thank you, Whatever Works.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
So I know Ukaipa is developing a large amount of new housing because it's definitely needed. I haven't heard too much of Redlands.
Yeah.
But you're saying the north side of Redlands is getting more developed in terms of housing?
Right.
Are they making any apartments in the area?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's apartments scheduled for those areas. Those are projects, and if anybody is interested, you can go to the city website and go to the planning department. Where, you know, the website will have a list of different departments. If you go to the planning, it'll say projects that are approved and projects that are coming up. and you can see a list of all
Thanks,
the projects there, and there are apartments involved. Speaking of that, there is on the corner, well, semi on the corner of Ligonia and Texas Street. There's it's called Liberty Lane.
Yeah.
And that's for veterans who were formerly unhoused, who are recovering from whatever condition they have, whether it's PTSD or substance abuse or whatever. And that's being built by a community of friends and not-for-profit who specializes in providing wraparound supports
That's amazing.
and housing for veterans. So that's going to get built. I think it's going to be about 98 units.
Oh, wow.
There, yeah, and some of it's going to be for affordable housing as well. So, it's good to see that that all of the vacant land is getting developed so that we can say that we have X amount of people in our community, and eventually we're going to get built out. At that point we won't. It depends on whether or not developers come in and buy up a swath of homes that they can do something else with,
Right.
So
What's the population of Redlands?
it's a little over 73,000.
73,000.
Wow.
That's about 20,000 more than Yucaipa.
Wow.
Do you know the size of Redlands of like in comparison to other cities?
No.
Because Redlands is actually a pretty decent sized city.
It is.
Yeah, it's okay.
In terms of mass and volume, because South Side is a beautiful part of Redlands. It's very historical. It's the little quiet town, and then you got State Street, which is almost the center, the heart of Redlands, basically. And then you got the North Side, which is getting developed and getting worked on and stuff like that. I mean, if you guys are listening from Riverside or for Colton or Corona or anything, if you guys haven't been to Redlands, I definitely say come check it out. It definitely has some character.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Umbrella Alley.
Yeah, Umbrella Alley.
The downtown Ed Hales Park, where you see all the music getting played. We just had a new Finney's open up right on the corner of
Finney's. Finney's.
Really?
Redlands,
I didn't know about that.
Redlands and Orange Street. Yeah.
It's funny because, Yeah. Because I'm a realtor at Century 21 over in Yucaipa.
Okay.
And Finney's is the first floor, and then Century 21 for Redlands is the top floor. So all the agents they just take the elevator down and they're in the restaurant at Finney's, So
yeah, definitely.
It's funny. It cracks me up because Redlands is known for its nightlife, for its activities and stuff like that. And having Finney's, like there's a strip, like you can go bar hopping on one side of the street, but now Finney's is across the street from that, So now it's not just sticking to one side. Now you can start going around.
Right.
There's
Well, it used
also
to be like
Septembers
that.
and stuff like that as
Septembers.
well.
Yeah.
Man, there's actually a lot of cool places.
There is.
For sure.
I went to Shanghai Bistro today.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Oh man, I was like, I was thinking it was gonna be very traditional. I thought it was gonna be like dark, small little teacups, very modern, and it's actually really cool. I liked it. There's certain areas of Redlands that I have like a heart for. Southside is one of my favorites just because of the historical Victorian homes.
Right. Yeah.
And like the parks over there and how, like, there's different cities where if you see people walking down the street, it just two things, right? But Redlands, if you see people walking down the street, because it's a beautiful place, they're walking their dog, they're riding bikes, Other cities, if you see people walking the streets, they're like homeless or like tweaking, you know what I mean? And so there's a huge difference when it comes to the people being outside in the city. And Redlands has the opportunity. I mean, the weather and everything is just the maintenance, all that. It's really amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And we have our fair share of homeless individuals that we try to reach out to. We just got an additional like $4 million, a little bit over $4 million that we're going to pump into homeless outreach. We're using that to enhance we have a coordinator who goes out and just tries to hit as many homeless encampments or homeless people as he possibly can to offer them services and offer them shelter. So
that was actually my next question I wanted to ask you. Has there been an increase or a decrease in homeless in Redlands?
So the theory is that because there's more technology involved, that there's better data being taken and that there hasn't been an increase. But I've lived in this town, as long as anybody else has, and I've seen an uptick in that. And I think A lot of it has to do with the fact that we just opened in November, I believe, of last year, the transitional homeless housing right here off of is this industrial right here, Industrial Park. So across the way where the Metro Nissan is, there used to be a Goodnight Inn.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
right.
now it's called Step Up in Redlands, and so that's a transitional homeless housing facility. And so once they knew we were getting ready to open that, I started to notice an uptick in people. I live close to the wash that's over here.
okay, yeah.
I live over that area, and so I just see them. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Multiple encampments just coming up. And literally, I saw this person being dropped off in a van.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, hypothetically speaking, because there's more programs and projects of people helping the homeless out, now people are saying, hey, I can be homeless because I know I'm getting taken care of. Is that what it's kind of like? That's kind of like
I think what you're
like
seeing now is the people who are choosing to be homeless are not accepting, and we hear that from the police department and even our homeless coordinator. The people who are homeless are choosing to be homeless and off the grid, and or people who want to be off the grid and homeless because they just have some sort of condition, either a substance or it's mental, and they're just not able to accept the services that we have. Yes, couch surfing counts as homelessness.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have a place to call your own.
Also, students too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of youth that are homeless that couch surf at their friends' house.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And they get counted. And where they answer honestly, and the intent is where there's a person who wants to have some sort of supportive housing or to have an affordable place to live, there's probably a spot for them in our community, in the services that we have. But if there's folks that just don't want to be helped, then it's not a crime to not accept help.
Right.
So they're out there.
What would you say is one of the biggest things that you guys are battling now, especially as mayor, that you are trying to fix or even solidify with,
I'd say, there's been an uptick in small crimes like thefts, burglaries, and any crime that happens to you is not a small crime. I just mean in the grand scale of things. Obviously, murder is the heaviest,
right.
But the small crimes of
like vandalism,
burglary, vandalism, there's been an uptick in that, and it's just, I think, a matter of tweaking the legislation in the state, to make sure that they're accounting for, criminals who are organized, because there is such a thing as organized crime, right? To account for the people that organize themselves in a criminal manner, and hold them accountable for those, multiple small crimes that they're committing. That
the biggest,
like you
thing
said, you
right
were talking
now-
about safety earlier.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest thing right now is catalytic converter thefts.
Oh yeah.
There's YouTube videos out there that people do it under 10 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I actually so it was actually over
Did it
here.
happen to you?
No, it didn't happen to me, but it was over here, and I hear some noise going on outside, and I thought it was the maintenance guy working in the parking lot, and I was gonna go grab something out of my car, but I was talking to a friend. I hear the noise, whatever. I walk outside. I look to my left, and I see the maintenance golf cart onto the left side of the parking lot, but I heard the noise on the right side of the parking lot. and then as soon as I walk out and I look right, this guy is coming out from underneath the car, throwing stuff into his vehicle, and then just taking off.
Yeah.
And I was like, did I just experience some guy, just sawing off a car inverter? So I went to the gym here across the parking lot, and I was like, hey, what's going on, bro? I was like, hey, whoever has a black Honda, I think they took your converter. And then he was like, what? Again? I was like, wait, again? I was like, because last week they did that to his wife's car.
Oh my God.
So he runs out there, he goes underneath his car, and he's just cussing a storm. I was like, they took your converter? He's like, yeah, da-da-da-da. And I was like, man, it's crazy. Because if I would have known or recognized that sound, but I mean, it doesn't happen that often,
Well, and
Oh, in front of you.
Yeah, or in front of you, yeah.
In front of you.
but it's like so common now. It can happen in front of you.
Yeah.
And you don't know.
Yeah.
It'll happen at Stater Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was a couple instances at the Stater Brothers on the Mentone border where they've had their cat stolen.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most valuable converter is a Prius because it has titanium inside the converter.
Oh my God.
So when they sell it, they're selling for the
Yeah.
All my listeners are good people, I promise.
All 15,000.
Yeah, they just came back from church. They're doing good.
No, we're good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what are you most excited for Redlands as far as growth?
I'm excited to see, the developments that I was talking about. Well, the State Street Village.
Mm-hmm.
There's also 2 other ones that are within that vicinity. I'm excited to see those get done because it's going to change the atmosphere downtown. You're going to see a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
People are worried about the automobile traffic, but there's definitely going to be a lot more foot traffic.
Mm-hmm.
People walking over to Sprouts or walking over to Trader Joe's or walking over to Vaughn's, or walking downtown to get something to eat. Using some stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And it's going to be great to hear from the downtown businesses who are just anxious. They're worried because of the parking issue, and we understand that. We're working on, trying to find a partner so that when we do move into our new city hall facilities, that we're able to do something with our old city hall facility, which I hope gets to be another parking structure, because our business is downtown. They were built in the old way where they went from property line to property line, and they didn't have any parking requirements, right? So the city's footing that sort of bill, so to speak, by providing public parking.
Yeah.
And they're all fighting for those spots because everybody's business, relies on that front door. So redeveloping our old city hall, I'd love to get to that point where we just make it happen.
Awesome. Yeah. I was what I was thinking about today when I was trying to find parking to go to the restaurant, Shanghai Bistro. I was thinking about it. I'm so happy that we don't have to worry about parking meters. Like you go to LA or anything like that, everywhere you go, you're spending money just to park, and here we don't have that.
Yeah.
Well, knock on wood, we don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's been
I say that now they're like, hey, let's put them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I'm throwing all the ideas
that's
out
a good
there.
idea.
So now that I think about it, So, I'm definitely super excited. I'm really happy to have you on, and having the people hear what's going on and what you're doing and who you are, right? Because it's important for the people to know who's running what.
Yeah.
And as the mayor of Redlands, people should know who you are, even outside of Redlands.
Yeah.
All your neighbor cities, Yucaipa should know who's running Redlands. Redlands should know who Yucaipa is running. So it's not focused just on yourself. You're focused on the bigger picture. Right. And so I want to thank you for coming on. We do have to close up shop.
Sure.
But Eddie, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. You guys listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
Eddie Tejeda.
And we'll be back next week, guys. Happy Sunday, and stay tuned for the next show, the Ferran Dozier show. Sorry, I was a little tongue twisted there. All right, you guys, stay blessed and happy Sunday.
Good night, everybody.
Feeling good, like I should. When in dark, walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday bed.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.